Hello and welcome to GEOSCOPE on Labour Social. I'm here with Ollie Bowler Hatman. Hi, Ollie.
All right, Graham, how are you?
I'm all right. Is Graham on his own again? Says Tommy. No. I've got Ollie here. I did Labour Social on my own.
Did you on?
It was called the Labour Antisocial. I should have called it Labour Unsociable. But yeah,
I was out on turn.
You out on the lash,
as we say in.
Left me on me bill. Let me on me bill. Out on the lash.
Good old
I don't know.
Yorkshireism.
So we're going to have a little bit of a chat about what's been happening this week. But the most interesting news story that you've pointed out to me, I didn't even know about this until an hour ago, was that Wagner has been hit in Sudan by the Ukrainians.
Yep,
so the Ukrainian conflict has now expanded to North Africa. This is really fascinating. Please tell us more, Ollie.
Yeah, excellent. So let's give you some context. Let's tell you about Wagner first. If you don't know who Wagner are, they are essentially a Russian state-backed mercenary group.
Yes.
And part of their whole reason for existing is to essentially be a bit of a power projection force for Russia.
And also to cause destabilization.
Yeah. Especially in Africa and the Middle East, to provide essentially troops to conflict. So that, Russia's not looking like it's providing troops, it can just send in Wagner instead. Those aren't our troops, those are Wagner mercenaries.
If we look at Russia as like a destabilization force, it's a force for destabilization around the world. And in countries like ours, and the US, it achieves it by interfering in our political systems, our democratic political systems, and fomenting, little what are they called, minority groups to sort of be targeted and things like that to cause social strife, and it can't really do that in Africa because it wouldn't have much of an effect, I don't think, because you've got these sort of strongman dictators like Ali Bongo in Gabon, who succeeded his father Omar Bongo. And between them, I think they've been in charge for over 50 years in Gabon. You're not going to get rid of someone like that by, going on internet forums
there to be
Twitter bots, are you? Yeah. So
they're there to be
in those countries,
back them up, essentially.
Yeah. In those scenarios, you've got to have basically Wagner, a private military force that's supposed to be not
provide a bit of muscle.
Yeah.
However, that's not just what, of course, they do provide a bit of muscle. They have committed numerous war crimes in these countries, but more importantly, and this is why I think the Ukrainian special forces have gone to strike Wagner in Sudan, is that part of their reason for being in that country, or in the African countries in particular, is they go out and they go seize diamond mines, they seize gold mines, anything that might be profitable in terms of raw resources, and then they take it over, and then they can sell those resources on behalf of the Russian government, meaning that they are having funding sources externally to their country.
Yes.
So this could be a significant expanding of the conflict into other African countries, where you could see these more types of these surgical strikes to take out. In this case, we saw a Wagner base in Sudan get taken out, but you could see other targets that are Wagner controlled be taken out, and it's not too beyond the possibilities. Maybe they might do this in Syria as well. After all, Wagner do have a significant presence in Syria as well. And they've been recruiting a lot, have the Russians, from Syria. So where will this lead? Possibly to more strikes, possibly in Africa. The big question, more interesting question, is how did those troops get to Sudan? That's an interesting question, which we don't know yet. We may never know the answer to that. Maybe we'll find out eventually. But that will be a very interesting question answer to find out how they got there. all the way from Ukraine to Sudan to obviously strike Wagner where they weren't expecting it. So,
well, I mean, one of the things that is sort of a historical through line when we talk about sort of places like Africa, developing nations, is this thing of Western interference. So for many, many years, the West interfered in various places in Africa and in South America, Central America, and in Asia. Sort of stuck their nose in where it probably wasn't wanted. However, it's worth noting that at the time, Russia was doing exactly the same. Well, the Soviet Union, as it was doing exactly the same thing. They were meddling with things. That's why the flag of Angola has got a hammer and sickle, only it's a machete and a cog. And you go around various countries in Africa, you see a lot of sort of Soviet influence that has come in. Yeah, I met people from Angola whose names were things like Yuri and Vladimir. And I'm like, why are you called Vladimir?
And their excuse for doing it was, we're just helping anti-colonial movements.
Yes, because they're
really
not colonial at all.
It was to sort of bring these African countries sort of into their fold, into their sort of
I feel it kind of lets them off the hook a little bit, because I think they're just as culpable as Western nations. But one thing that was on CNN today that really caught my eye was the fact that the Chinese have been investing in developing nations, mostly in Africa, for 2 decades now. And the bill for
Belt
those...
and Road Initiative.
For the Belt and Road Initiative and other initiatives, infrastructure development in West Africa, Central Africa, Southern Africa, actually all of Africa, is now $1.1 trillion.
Yep. And though a lot of those debts are now coming due as well. I think China is now one of the biggest foreign debtors. I think 80% of their foreign their foreign spending is now for debt.
Yeah. Now we in the West did this exact same thing for about the same amount of money, I think, adjusted for inflation in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and then we were demanding that these countries were paying back these horrific loans, that these bad debts that they had no chance of ever paying back. And they were actually cancelled in 2005 thanks to the Jubilee campaign and the Drop the Debt campaign that went on. I don't know if you remember. They had a live 8. I don't know why it was 8. Maybe you know.
2008, I think it was. Was it 2008?
No, it was 2005.
I can't remember.
But it was called Live 8. There was a reason for it, but essentially the debts did get dropped. Fantastic. And then it almost immediately afterwards, China came over and said, "Hey, would you like us to invest in your country?" Well, we're not going to invest. We're just going to loan you the money, and you can pay us back when back on your feet.
They're taking the long view from this. They are going to these countries and saying, "Look, you've got all this debt with us. Let's work out a bit of a payment plan," because they are very, very invested in the Belt and Road Initiative. They see this as, of course, the way that they can sort of help gain more sort of influence on sort of the world stage. To be honest, it will do in terms of sort of raw resources, getting these ports, these roads set up for them. Of course, the direction of China for them is very good. So yeah, they are definitely wanting to get this infrastructure built, and all these debts, even though they are some sort of due and overdue in many cases, China is taking a long view on this. They aren't demanding immediate repayment, but they are going, well, let's look at your repayments. Almost like a debt advisor. In comes Xi Jinping.
In comes the debt advisor. The financial advisor. Lee's pointing out it was the G8 summit in 2005, I think, in Edinburgh, and that's why they called it Live 8, because it was to convince the members of the G8, which was the G7 plus Russia, who have now been thrown out of the G8, so it's become the G7. And Ernie says slavery sometimes doesn't need chains. Sometimes it just needs red lines on balance sheets. Yeah, absolutely. And I just, as humans, we need to stop doing this. If we're going to invest in African countries, we've got to stop making it loans. We've got to say, we will invest whatever you need to make this thing happen, and not expect them to pay it back 20 years later when it's a completely different government, a different generation in power who didn't ask for the money. And that's the most ridiculous thing about all this is like you can have a country. This happened a lot in sort of South America, where you had a dictatorship in charge who killed people, like terrorized the people, and then eventually, the ragtag team of guerrillas take them out, and they go, okay, we've got to establish a democracy now. And on day one, a bill turns up, and it's like, oh, you owe us like $500 billion, mate. And it's like, no, we don't. We didn't ask for that money. You were propping up the people who were freaking torturing us. Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, more of the same. Stupid humans of all stripes. But yeah, it just seems that whatever happens in the world, Africa loses.
Yeah, and it's a real shame. Because Africa, if it was properly developed, could be well just as like any other Western country.
Oh yeah,
but it's going to take a long time. And
countries.
Africa is massive.
I know. 54 countries, 55 if you include Western Sahara.
I think it's difficult to sometimes comprehend when we say Africa is massive. You're like, oh well, yeah, of course it is, but no, it's huge when you come to it.
You don't need to tell me how big Africa is, mate. I've done a lap of it.
As well.
And that took me the best part of a year.
That's one of the big parts of the problem. The actual connectivity around Africa is the different the lack of rail networks in around the area. Yes. Ironically, it's the exact same problem Russia has. In that Russia, big country, the best way to get around Russia is by train.
Yeah,
it's same for
they do have trains. They've got the Trans-Siberian.
Yep,
you can get all the way to Vladivostok if you wanna.
Yeah. And my friend went on that just as the war kicked off.
Oh God!
So yeah, that was a very interesting adventure coming back home teaching Japanese in Japan. So, but yeah, no, he was like, oh yeah, it was great. I barely remember any of it because we just drank vodka and you were just encouraged to drink vodka.
Yeah, Captain Bart Roberts pointed out that Africa is absolutely bloody enormous, and the way the climate's going, Africa will be mostly uninhabitable in a few decades. I don't think so. I think that the desertification of the Sahel, which is the regions of the south of Sahara, may well go the way of the dinosaurs, but will becoming uninhabitable. But you do have the equator running through Africa, and that band of green between the sort of Kalahari Desert, the what's it called, the Namibian Desert, and the Saharan Desert in the north is massive, and I see more of a threat really from global warming being in terms of sea level rise. Yeah. But don't worry, Ollie, because the King said today in the King's speech that they were going to sort out global warming by burning more oil.
Oh, he was not happy doing that. He was not happy.
We're going to solve murder by murdering people. That'll stop murder.
I am kind of surprised we didn't see some sort of reaction from Charles, because
he was talking through gritted teeth. He was just like,
he must have not been happy. He must not have been happy doing that.
Well, do you know what he was thinking? Someone pointed this out in the chat. Like, so every day now is one day closer to the end of the Tories being in charge, and that's got to be a good thing. There you go. That's
another thing. This is international. You may remember when Rishi Sunak announced all those cutting all those green deals. He did this at exactly the same time there was a green summit going on in the UN.
Oh, that he wasn't invited to.
Oh no, he was invited. He didn't turn up.
Okay.
What a little shit! Instead, he made this big announcement. Also, while that announcement was happening, Prince William was doing his whole Earthshot prize. So not only has he embarrassed the UK to the UN, he also embarrassed the royal family.
Dickhead.
Not good. And recently, we've also had the head of the UN come out and say, so yeah, all those green commitments that you signed up to and you pushed for, yeah, we're just making sure you're still on track to do those.
Yeah.
you know. So, and
Well,
it's
yeah.
it's so frustrating because we were one of the big countries that was pushing for this,
Yeah.
and I do keep on trying to make this a main point on my channel that we've got to make and invest in this green transition because we are
Yes,
in a
we do.
race.
Yeah.
We
The
are in a
quicker we
race.
do it, the better.
Yeah, this is a race that is going on, and Rishi Sunak has started the sprint with everyone else, and then he stumbled, and he hasn't
Yeah.
got up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, America and Europe are racing ahead of us.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the longer this
It's good,
continues,
isn't it?
the worse it will be for us because this is very much a race of if we fall behind too much, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to spend even more money to catch up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, just to jump into the chat for a moment, Captain Bart Roberts, sorry, Captain, is asking when's the next by-election, and Dave W said January 2024, supposedly. So we've got 2 by-elections coming up. We've got Wellingborough, which is Peter Bone's old seat. He will be kicked out in the next few weeks, undoubtedly, but he might try and cling on, in which case the by-election won't take place till February. The other one is Scott Benton in Blackpool South, and he's getting kicked out by the looks of things as well. So we could have 2 by-elections, but not enough. Not enough. Unfortunately, the Tories still have a majority of 58, which is a bit shit. And someone asked when will the next Tory MP be charged with a sex offence?
well,
Tim
I don't know. Let's check the clock, shall we?
Very soon. There were 56 complaints of various MPs from all parties, but probably most of the Tories, let's face it, to the independent grievance and complaints scheme, which was set up in about 2017 in response to the fact that the Tories were just very bad at marking their own homework, and also keeping their employees safe from the sexual predators who are their MPs. So 56 MPs that arguably should be facing recall petitions.
Yep.
And the Tories have a majority of 58. And don't forget, you don't need to have 58 more MPs to beat that. We just need to have half of them go over to Labour or the Lib Dems, and they lose their majority. Anyway, we need to get back on track because we're going to run out of time.
Do you want to do the X story quickly? Because this is a quick one.
Okay, if you can do a quick one. I was going to move to the Abraham Accord.
The X story is well, the Twitter story is unbelievable to me.
Okay.
I think I've said this before. I work in marketing, and integration is a big thing. Integration is a big thing because it allows you to be automatically connected to whatever social media thing very quickly. You see this when you go to a website and you see the little Twitter bird logo. When you go to YouTube, that is technically in sort of integration onto your sort of other social media points. And one of the big things and the big pushes that Sony have been doing on the PlayStation is they've been having social share buttons where you could press that button and it shares it straight to your social media account.
Yeah.
Today, guess what Sony have announced?
Sony.
PS4 and PS5s will no longer be sharing to Twitter.
Sharing what?
Like, as in, you cannot post social media stuff like your game snapshots. Like, you just press a button on your controller, it will share that screenshot straight to Twitter.
Oh, Vice.
Not anymore.
Oh, okay. So that was a thing.
That's been a thing for a couple of years.
But I mean, I suppose you can still get online on your PS4 and PS5, so you can still go to the X website, x.com, and I presume tweet something. But it would take ages because you'd have to use the controller to go up and down, left and right with the ABC.
Yeah.
Can I just say, it's got nothing to do with anything else. I hate smart TVs because I hate the fact that when you're searching for a show, you've got to go right, down, left, right, up, down, enter. Oh no, delete, and then you got to get to delete, and then it takes you about half an hour just to type in like it, and you've got a remote control which has got numbers on it. Why can't you just type it in like you used to do on your mobile phone, where 2 is ABC and 3 is DEF. Can someone explain to me why you can't do that on smart? They're not very smart TVs. I hate them. Drives me mad. Well, that thing about them, I hate. I also hate the fact that you can't just search for a movie and it looks in all the different streaming things that you're streaming. So it'll look in Disney Plus, it'll look in Netflix and Amazon, and it'll say, "Here's your movie. It was on Disney Plus." But you can't do that. You have to sort of Google it.
But this is kind of big. You've got a major company saying, "Yeah, we're not going to share to social media.
We're not like, shut up, Graham. No one cares.
we're not going to share to Twitter." That's huge. That's a major international company saying we're not going to share to Twitter anymore.
Yeah,
that would be like if you went to your YouTube and said, "I want to share to Twitter." Where is it?
Yeah.
Why can't? Where's the button to send it into?
What Sony's reason for doing this is because they don't want to be associated with a hate site that has allowed Haiti Plopkins and Tommy 10 names back on, apparently.
Probably not. It's probably the fact that it's this Twitter is just now a complete hellscape, and I think more and more companies are just moving away.
I was thinking that it might be more to do with the fact that they're having real technical problems with Twitter because they've got rid of so much of their coding staff.
That would probably be another reason for it. It could also be to do with the EU potential taking action as well, because they might not want to get caught up in it as well.
Yeah.
So that could be another thing. But a big company like Sony saying that is huge. Like that is we are entering, I think, soon endgame for
X. So it's going to be X-Tinct.
Yeah.
I had to explain that to my partner when she was looking at the title of this episode. She was like, "What's that?" And I went, X, like X. And she's like, "What? X. It's like Twitter. It's now called X." Although I do find it funny that X is pronounced different ways in different countries, and in certain countries it's pronounced as a sh sound. So if you put the X at the beginning of Twitter instead of the TW, you end up with shitter. There you go. That's what he's turned it into.
Actually, Tim Ballon, that might be why. If X are charging access to the API, if they are charging access to that, then that will be why Sony is going, "Yeah, we probably don't want to pay for that."
Oh yes.
And if Sony,
this will be it. Yeah, that's
if
it.
Sony are not going to pay for that, who else is going to pay for that?
Because it's like 20 grand a month or something, isn't it? I mean, when you think about how many PlayStations have been sold, it still seemed like peanuts to them. But
that's huge to say that Sony, we're just going to take away a massive integration piece.
Okay, so it's Twitter API. We've solved this riddle. Well, live with you. It's for the API for hobbyists or prototypes goes up to $100 a month. The Pro tier goes for $500 a month, and the Enterprise tier, which is something a Sony scale would need to use, is $42,000 a month that they can just not spend and use on the free API facilities they have on Threads or Facebook or Twitch or YouTube.
Would be hilarious if they suddenly announced, "Yeah, we're doing integration with Threads."
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't understand why anyone would pay for something that you can get for free elsewhere. It just seems a bit mad to me.
Well, this is Elon's mad scheme to turn X into the everything app. You don't have to go to any other apps, and you'll just go to X, and it will do everything.
But how? Do
exactly.
what?
I wouldn't trust X. I wouldn't trust X for anything. I mean,
I'll go to Twitter and what? I buy stuff like on Amazon.
Not just that, but all your banking is done.
No, but you say not just that. I mean, how do I buy stuff? Because they've got no warehouses. They've got no delivery people. How can I get a pizza on X? I don't understand.
Well, you would tweet Domino's, and
but I've got a Domino's app, or can just go to their website. Why would Why would I go online and go to Twitter to order a fucking pizza when I can just go to Domino's? I can use the app actually.
And the security
is Elon Musk
is terrible.
I mean, I know he's not as clever as people think he is, but is he genuinely special?
Who knows?
Is he a bit slow? Do you know what I mean? I don't want to sound
the interview
horrible.
he did with Sunak was interesting. didn't
Oh,
didn't go down well with
two
many Tory
dimwits.
MPs.
What where he said, "Oh, we're gonna have to have jobs in the future." The Tories' only thing is jobs, isn't it? They go, "Oh, we made more jobs. We made more jobs. Look, we made more jobs." You got like women working 3 jobs, and they're still having to go uh, to food banks to feed their kids.
Yeah.
And the Tories like, "You know, 3 jobs. We got 3 jobs there." And if you work for like 1 hour a week, it's a job.
Yeah, but Donovan in the chat's right. I wouldn't put my banking information into X, because when this first happened, and when stuff was starting to go on, and we saw them sack the entire, security team, I was advising people, if you've got any sensitive information in your Twitter DMs or anything like that, get rid of it, delete it now, because it's no longer safe.
Oh, shit. Okay, that woke me up. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever sent anything particularly risque on.
Well, it's not
Twitter.
just that. It's like, well, what if you've shared a password with someone over it, or anything like that?
Yeah. Oh, that's a point. I don't think I have, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is it. You see?
Oh my god.
This is what makes people think. I already did that months ago. I went through all my DMs through years just to make sure.
I did the takeaway. You could do the Twitter takeaway where I did that last year and just took all my old messages, and I haven't really been using it this year much at all, because it's it's sad though, isn't it? It feels like there used to be a field across the road from your house, and then some billionaire's taken it over and turned it into a fucking sewage farm. And you're like, "Why did you do this?" He goes, "Oh, because I could. Oh, I'm a Nepo baby. My daddy owns an emerald mine." Anyway, that was my Elon Musk impression. Hope you liked it. I won't do it again.
Gone forever.
Right, can you tell me about these?
First thing we've ever seen like this in history as well, a social media site rise and then die. And as I've said many times before talking about this, I'm looking forward to the documentary.
MySpace. MySpace was amazing.
No, MySpace is still going.
2000. Oh God, yeah, but it's not.
MySpace is still going. If you had a MySpace account, you can still log into it.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
I might try that. But yeah, MySpace, right? It was great. Everyone loved it. It was brilliant, right? A bit silly because you could, manipulate your own page to look at however you wanted, and some people didn't have much of an idea about design or what music should play when you go to the site. But it was fun. It was really fun, and I thought it was great. But it got bought by Rupert Murdoch, who is a tyrant billionaire from a country in the southern hemisphere, and he made it shit. And so we all
that's when we all switched to Facebook.
We all went to Facebook. Actually, it was a bit, Lee Corn saying "Friends Reunited." That got taken out by Facebook, didn't it? I remember going on my Friends Reunited page and then messaging people to say, "Here's my Facebook. Here's how to find me on Facebook." I remember a very long time ago. That was 16 years. 16 years ago that was. Did you know if you're permanently suspended from Twitter, then you can't delete, close, shut down your account? I know because I've tried. So all your messages, Duke Vengeance, in the chat are still available and could be hacked because they've sacked off all their coders. That's really bad.
Yep. Loaf sacked over 50% of his staff.
My God. Yep. It'd be great if MySpace had a resurgence, though. I feel like we should have a MySpace, B3TA, rathergood.com resurgence. I think we should have like the internet of the noughties. There's been a couple new episodes of Salad Fingers in the last year or so. So yeah. Yeah.
What's next? More Magical Trevor? Homestar?
Yeah. Well, as long as we don't go back. Do you remember Goatsy?
Goatsy.
Are you too young?
No, I'm too young for that.
If you remembered it, you wouldn't pull that face. You'd pull a very different face. But what it was like a horrible picture, and basically people would send it, like email it to someone, and you'd open the attachment, and it would show this picture with the overlay of sound screaming really loud. The boss is a C unit. And you couldn't get rid of it by pressing escape. You had to literally turn your computer off. The boss is it. The boss is it. Yeah. Anyway, so anyone remember that? Oh, great days. Anyway, right.
Yeah.
Tell me about these Abraham Accords. What the?
Yes,
What
Abraham
are
Accords.
these? What are these?
Yes. So Abraham Accords. You've probably might been hearing a lot of right wingers saying,
right, whingers more like,
yeah, that Trump actually solved the problem in the Middle East because he signed the Abraham Accords.
Huh? I've never
Yep.
heard of them.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So this is
Were they the Ten Commandments? Oh no, that was Moses.
No. So this was the big sort of right-wing talking point that this whole war shouldn't have happened, that this happened on Biden's watch. It's sort of his failure. It's an attempt to really try and attack Biden.
Okay, so this was a bilateral agreement on Arab-Israeli normalization signed between Israel and the UAE and Bahrain on September the 15th, 2020. Oh, that's pretty good though, isn't it? On his way out as president.
So, but it's not all what he did. So this has its origins back in the Obama administration. So this everyone's saying that this was Trump did this. No, this started back under Obama. This started back when Obama did not enforce his red line after chemical weapons were used in Syria. And he did that purely because when you looked at the polls, Americans were just like, we don't want to get involved in another war in the Middle East. We're not interested. So
sorry, Syrians.
Yeah. So at that point, Obama and especially we have to start looking at diplomatic ways. How can we sort of, calm things down in the Middle East? So they started, through diplomatic channels, started talking to different countries. Is there any way that we can sort of, as you said there, sort of normalize relations to help things with like business, trade,
is your
travel.
Background from Doom?
My background, no, it's a physics lab.
Oh, it looks like a portal to hell. Someone's saying it looks like Hoth Echo Base. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
So this was this whole sort of thing to bring this back to sort of normalize relations, to sort of maybe try and sort of calm things down. But of course, what happens? Obama leaves office, in comes Trump. And of course, Trump pretty much, well, the real answer should be, what job did Jared Kushner not have in the White House is a much easier question to ask, because Jared Kushner, obviously his son-in-law, was pretty much given every single job going, including solving, bringing peace to the Middle East. Yeah. And he took over those relations and saw that, there is a chance here to sort of normalize these relations between all these different Arab countries. This would sort of, bring the temperature down in the Middle East a bit. Trump trumpeted these things as he always did, but of course he couldn't help but mess things up. This was what involved moving the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which
that didn't go down too well.
Upset a lot of people when that happened, and also involved a peace plan that did not include the Palestinians.
Oh, cool.
So
that's helpful.
Yeah. Currently, what we're seeing at the moment is Donald Trump's fault. Oh. Donald Trump does bear responsibility.
And Benjamin Netanyahu.
Oh yeah, but
and
ultimately Hamas. It was Trump that gave Netanyahu pretty much free license to do this, because of the Abraham Accords. This basically told Israel, you can have your own sort of peace agreement, and you don't have to listen to the Palestinians, because you're instead going to have negotiations with Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, and particularly Saudi Arabia being very big backers of the Palestinian cause. This was one of the motivations for Hamas in doing their attack, because of these relations. They were not happy about Saudi Arabia becoming more buddy with Israel, and that was part of the motivation of the attack, because they wanted to say, hey, we're still here, you've got to deal with us. And all that is down to the Abraham Accords. So Trump does bear some responsibility for what's going on here. And now, of course, we've got to ask the question to enable this, are these accords worth continuing? And the answer is yes, to begin with, but there needs to be sort of some adjustment. Certainly getting rid of the, you know, yes, let's do a peace agreement, but not include the Palestinians needs to be gotten rid of. But normalizing relations between the countries in the Middle East, there's no problem with that. I think if Biden can do that and continue on with this, then he can show that
Well,
in the next election, that Trump
well,
had no
well.
clue what he was doing when it came to foreign affairs,
Trump didn't
and
have a clue
score a
about anything.
quite a significant win for that. So
Okay. Well, that
those are the
segues
evidence.
neatly into Trump taking the stand yesterday in court in New York. This is to do with his business dealings, where uh, he said that his companies were worth more than they actually were in order to get favorable loans from banks. And he said that his properties were worth less than they were to the IRS, so he didn't have to pay so much tax. And then he took to the stand and he said, actually, it wasn't worth like 100 million. It was actually worth $1 billion. And it was like,
Yeah,
sorry,
he
what?
pretty much admits to the judge that he's lying.
So sorry. So I didn't kill one person. No. I killed 100 people. But disturbingly, his strategy is working. If he doesn't go to jail, there is now a very, very good chance that he might be president again, that he will be president again. There are 6 states that really decide, and 5 of them are now over 50% for Trump.
Yep, and that is because,
Biden.
unfortunately, Biden is doing a good job. To be honest, there's a lot of people out there,
but he's almost dead,
on
and it's a bit
on our
Weekend
side.
at Bernie's, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people on our side who are saying what they're saying about Keir Starmer now is what a lot of people on the left in America were saying about Joe Biden. But Joe Biden has actually done a lot of good stuff, in America. And I've always said this before. I would rather have, Keir Starmer's Labour, where I get 40% of what I might want, versus nothing.
The Tories, nothing.
With the Tories.
In fact, everything you don't want.
Yeah, because Biden has done a ton of stuff with labor relations and improving unionization for working class people in America. That has been made major advances. So that has been an incredible step forward on that. So it's big. He's done stuff for sort of Americans. Infrastructure spending. The infrastructure bill, the green energy bill, the massive subsidies for green companies. So by America right now, we talked about the race happening. Well, America right now has spades in the ground, building those factories of the future.
However, aren't all the signs that we're heading towards a global economic downturn, which could come and F poor old Biden in the A?
That's, I think, possibly. I think that could very likely happen, but people have been predicting an economic downturn, well, a recession, or like a major recession, for quite some time. If it does come next year, that is going to provide Trump a massive opportunity. But of course, the big thing that will save him is, that will save Trump, is if he can win the presidency, then he can just pardon himself, which will cause a lot of constitutional issues.
Because he can't pardon himself in Georgia.
Yeah, he can't pardon himself in Georgia.
And he looks absolutely bang to rights in Georgia, because they have, was it 4 of his co-defendants have now pled guilty? 4 of them. And they're not even like the small ones. There's some big names in there. The Kraken, Sidney Powell, is in there.
Yeah, Sidney Powell, yeah.
He's and cheese, bro. He's done there. I mean,
and Giuliani as well.
Getting out of that.
Like Giuliani, we talked about this last time, but Giuliani, his only way out is he can't do a deal because 2 others have already beaten him to it. The only way out for him is to plead guilty and work with the state. So he will have to serve, jail time in Georgia. But even then, it does raise questions of, well, what happens then if he's president?
Yeah.
Because even I don't know what happens.
Well, it's the end of the world. I think we just pack up and
Yeah.
go to Mars with Elon Musk, because we're going to be living on Mars next year. That's what he told us 10 years ago. It's almost as though he just makes stuff up.
Yeah, well,
there was a great term that someone said a few days ago about this portmanteau word of villain and billionaire, and you put it together and you get a billionaire. And Musk is a billionaire. Sunak is, Trump is. These people in the past, like rich people, wanted to be like seen as good people, even if they were evil. So you'd have people like Lord Londonderry, who owned all the mines around here in Durham, who wanted 8-year-olds working down in his mines. He actually spoke in Parliament against a law coming in to stop 8-year-olds working down the mines. But he was a philanthropist, and he spent a lot of money on the arts and things like that. You had slave traders like that dickhead down in Bristol, Brighton,
yep,
Bristol. Who he had a statue to him because he did a lot of good public works, because he wanted to be seen as a good person. And this is the big change in the last 10 years. Billionaires, the richest elite people, no longer want to be seen as good people. They don't see the point. They just want to be able to just shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and the crowd all cheer. And unfortunately, it looks like 50% of humans do cheer at things like that, because I don't know.
Yeah, I also think there might be turnout issues. Again, that it is just one poll, but it is quite a significant poll, and it's a worrying poll. But we'll see what the turnout is, because it was, especially in Georgia, it was turnout from the black community that turned out and won Georgia for Biden.
Yes.
So,
but his popularity amongst the black communities in America has gone down, and the Latino communities as well has also reduced. There's one sort of little glimmer of copium at the end of the tunnel, which is that polling in America isn't particularly accurate, because a lot of this is done over the telephone, as in the wired telephone in people's houses. And a lot of young people do not have wired telephones. Usually that's not a problem, because most young people don't bother voting. But in this kind of election, where there's going to be a lot of people who do not want Trump for another 4 years, deciding who gets to be on the Supreme Court. So if Trump does get in, I mean, the madness is just going to be incomprehensible. He will change the Constitution, so he will never not be president.
I don't know if the Republicans would allow him to get away with that, but
yes, they would. What, keep them in power forever? Of course they would.
I don't know. I don't know if they'd go that far.
Sorry, do you think that the Republicans have any morals whatsoever? Have you seen the main speaker?
I do not think they would be mad enough to make Donald Trump emperor for life. I think that they are mad. I think you are right, but I think there is at least some limits to their madness.
No, they're all a bunch of Jar Jar Binks.
I've got a bit of hope. I've got a bit of hope.
If Trump wins next year, all bets are off. I think it's that is that, humanity doesn't have much time left.
That creates big problems.
Just
for
have
Ukraine
fun
as well.
Tell that person that you love him. Hold your loved ones tight, because we're going down. Because also, I mean, the world's hotting up quicker than everyone thought it would.
Well, one of the things we need to do if Trump does get in, especially with Ukraine, we need to have a big push in, I think, the UK and in Europe to go, right, we need to go move full-time war production and just start sending Ukraine everything they want. We're going to be like, it's going to be like Christmas every day for them. You want F-16s, here's F-16s. You want Challenger 2s? Well, tell you what, here's Challenger 2s with the LEP edition on them as well. Yeah, I think that should be a concern that Europe should be looking at. What do we do about Ukraine if there is a Trump victory? I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you saw the Vivek Ramaswamy interview with Piers Morgan. But oh
Uh,
my word, there is someone who has no idea what he's talking about.
is he
In the
still
first,
running? He hasn't
yeah,
dropped out. Mike Pence has dropped out, hasn't he?
I think so. I haven't been keeping track, but
Yeah, Mike Pence
Vivek
is gone.
is, oh my word, this interview is in the first 5 minutes. He goes, yeah. So what are you going to do about Ukraine? And he goes, right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a deal with them. To Pierce is like, oh, okay. So you're going to do a deal with them. What are you going to do a deal with? Well, first of all, we've got to destroy China's military alliance. Russia and China aren't in a military alliance.
Okay.
So that's a complete non-starter. And then he goes, I'm going to give them the land that they currently have. Even though he just said a few moments ago, yeah, I'm going to give them nothing.
Oh my God.
What? What? So,
Yeah. Again, another
and
incredibly
there's
rich
a lot of
person.
people saying, he wants to be Trump's VP. And if he doesn't win, he wants to be Trump's VP.
Jesus Christ.
And I couldn't think of anything worse than a Trump Vivek ticket.
Well,
That
also
would
the
be,
fact
yeah.
that, we're going to be fucked in Europe because Russia's just going to think, oh, great, we can do what we like, and it will invade Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. NATO will be put to the test, and it will come up sadly lacking because America will not join in. America will renege on its deal to, help out any other NATO nations who are invaded by um, there's no way out of this. I mean, if Americans want to re-elect Trump, they are literally voting for World War III. Someone said in the
Yeah.
chat there's going to be a civil war. If you want to look at it like that, World War II was a European civil war that just spilled over. If it was one country, if it was all going on in China, all going on in Russia, you wouldn't call it a world war. You'd call it international war. You'd call it a civil conflict,
Mhm.
which is essentially it was, and that's why so many bloody civilians got killed. We would have that again. It would be, but this time it would be a civil war that would start in America. Because of America's instability, you would see China take over Taiwan like that.
Mhm.
They'll go into Taiwan. So there'll be loads of fighting over there because the Taiwanese will fight to the last man, woman, baby. And then you've got the Russian contingent who will be backed up by China. They will go into a
And
deal together, and then
that's why I would
India
hope.
will probably come in on the side of China and Russia because it's in their interest,
That's
especially
why I
under
would hope
Modi.
that there are conversations, or at least David Lammy should be having and thinking about contingency plans about many many things. Um, what if Trump wins?
Well, also the Supreme Court. I mean, he's going to get another 3 people in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
He'll poison them. He'll kill them. He'll get them out of there somehow, and he'll
Well,
make sure that everyone
it's
in the
not
Supreme
that.
Court is a Republican.
It's just odds, really. I mean, they've already technically got a majority of one on the Supreme Court,
No, they've got a
but
majority. They've got 6 of the 9. They've got 6 of the 9
yeah. Oh, is it?
because Trump got to put 3
Yeah,
judges
because
in.
could got to appoint 3 justices.
Yeah,
So I think that gave them
it's 6-3.
a
It's 6-3
yeah,
conservatives
6-3.
now.
All right, yeah, 6-3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've got an overall majority, so they don't really need, to be honest, to to get rid of them. They don't need to get rid of any of them. Amy Coney Barrett was the really concerning one because she is the youngest, I think, justice
Yes.
ever appointed.
Yeah. She'll be
So
there for
she's
50
gonna,
years.
yeah, like I say, it's a lifetime appointment.
Yeah.
So they're
Which
there
is
until
why
they drop dead or they quit.
I often talk about how Labour, when they do their messaging and their social media and the comms, it feels like they're still living in the 1970s and they're still thinking in the 1970s. And I feel the same way in some ways about the Democrats. This whole thing of when they go low, you go high. I'm like, sod it. No, when they go low,
Yeah,
kick them.
I got my
That's a quote there.
I
Let's
got
make
my
history together.
new Labour pack through with my
Oh,
new
that's
Labour
nice.
card. And we got this, and
I got my new Labour card as well, which has got
we got a nice sticker.
it's
I
got
don't know if you can see it,
the Union Jack on it. There you go.
but it's
That's my Labour card, and also my National Trust card, so I could I can vote.
oh, yeah.
Britain 24. Yeah, but it doesn't say who for. That's kind of weird because it's disappeared.
I
I've
know.
also got my copy of the red flag. Is the words to the red flag from the conference. It's to the tune of "Oh Christmas Tree, Oh Christmas Tree." It's the weirdest thing. I was expecting some stirring Soviet anthem, but it's Christmas Tree, Christmas Tree. But yeah, I'm really concerned. I wasn't concerned about Trump winning the next election a few weeks ago, and I thought that he probably would get away with not going to jail. Now I think very much that he will go to jail, but I also think that he's going to win the next election.
Yeah, that's the worry. Because if he wins, then there's a lot of consequences around the world that are going to be happening because of that victory. And ironically, because we're not in the EU anymore, we hold a lot less sway in Europe, which I think we're about to find out how important having sway in Europe is about to be very, very quickly.
We're running out of medication. ADHD medication and hormone replacement therapy medication is in short supply. People are going to have to go without this winter, which is going to it's going to cause a lot of anxiety and suffering and family breakdowns and all kinds of stuff, the knock-on effects of this. And one of the big drivers of that is because we left the EU.
Yeah. Oh, Tim Ballum in the chat. Biden could just appoint another 10. What you're talking about is stacking the court.
Yes. But then
the problem then becomes is that the Republicans could do that as well.
Yeah.
So just because, Biden could stack the court now and maybe either rebalance it so that it becomes neutral or gains a liberal minority of one, Trump can come back in and just say, well, I'm going to give us 11 new justices, and I'm going to retake the court back from Biden. Yeah, he could run on that.
Yes,
if
Biden, he could.
If Biden did that, if Biden stacked the court, Trump would run on that.
Yeah, but I'm glad you brought us back to that, because what I was going to say, they're still sort of stuck in the past. One of the things that they could have definitely done is really pushed for statehood for Washington DC and Puerto Rico, two places that would overwhelmingly support the Democrats. Why the hell they didn't push ahead with that in this term? In the first 2 years, when they had the Senate, they had the House of Representatives, and they had the presidency. Oh my God, just do it now. Just do it. Come on, let's do it together. It'll be fun.
Or make reforms to the court. Don't make it a lifetime appointment.
Yes.
It's that easy. There's a ton of stuff being talked about before about how you could reform the Supreme Court. But yeah. Yes, some good news actually, because we're nearly at time. So let's finish off on some good news. You may remember our very first episode. The memories.
All those years ago.
Yeah, all those 2-ish months ago. Of course, we're talking about the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia. There is now a peace agreement being put forward.
Excellent.
So is
it excellent? Is it?
It is. It's good signs. It's good signs that good stuff could come from this, because it's being called or dubbed the crossroads for peace, and it is going to involve Azerbaijan building a large infrastructure network up through Georgia into northern Iran, across from Armenia and into Turkey. And especially important into Armenia and into Turkey because, like I say, those were the two countries, of course, that were, hey, we're not happy with this invasion. So the fact that they've got this off and is being sort of expressly talked about in a peaceful way, doing this in a peaceful way, I think that's very good. I still have a lot of concerns, though. We talked about that narrow area, that narrow strip of land. I still think maybe in 10 years, we might see movement from Azerbaijan Azerbaijan to take over that strip of land. We'll see what happens. But if this proves popular, if this new infrastructure, these new roads, these new railways that they're going to build, if this helps the economies of things like Azerbaijan build up, which means that they can maybe build up their military, which will act more as a deterrent to Azerbaijan, then hopefully that will make them think twice about going for it. Also, probably, probably, you'll probably find that Armenia, if there is another war, that Turkey will probably come in and intervene on their side.
On Armenia's side?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You know that it's like illegal to even suggest that Turkey might have perpetrated a massacre against the Armenian people over 100 years ago.
I know. Honestly, I think we said this. This breaks the entire rules for like international.
Well, no, we're seeing this with Saudi Arabia sort of coming in on the side of Israel against Hamas. You know, you're like, okay.
But it's not just Turkey backing up Armenia; it's Russia and America.
Yeah. Yes. Very good point. Very good point.
So yeah, it does break that entire conflict broke all the rules and norms for like international and foreign relations when it came down to it. But I am glad that this is something, and part of the reason why I think us doing the show is good, that we can follow up on stuff like this and tell you when there's updates when stuff like this happens. I want to hopefully talk about Myanmar on the next show. However, I'm not available next week. So if you want to do a show by yourself, Myanmar's a good topic to talk about.
Okay. Well, yeah, I might just do a show where there's like two of me. There's one below, and I'll try and do like a golem where I sort of talk to myself.
Yeah.
Like looking one way and then looking the other. There was a couple of good jokes in the chat. Jez pointing out, to be fair, a fake millionaire running the country from prison is the most American capitalist thing I can think of. Very true. And Paul wants to know, if Trump goes to jail, who will portray him in the comedy drama The D-Wing? Who would play Trump? I mean, you would think that Alec Baldwin would have that role down now because he played him on Saturday Night Live, but I think he's going to jail as well. So maybe they could film it of him in jail for literally killing someone. And he could dress up as Trump. There you go, part of his rehabilitation. And Captain Bart Roberts is saying there's a morphine shortage last year. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these shortages, food shortages. One of our friends, Liz, she runs Save British Farming, and she's really concerned about British food security at the moment because of Brexit and because of the impositions we've put on ourselves for no reason. Just, reams and reams of red tape and stupidity. Just about sums up Brexit there. So, right, so I think we've covered everything. Wagner, Abraham Accords, Trump taking the stand, X-Tinct. Is X-Tinct. I don't know. I didn't have the space to make more of a pun on that, but basically, yeah, Trump has taken Twitter and destroyed it. Please follow us on Threads. Yep. I'm at Graham David Hughes on Threads. What are you on Threads?
I'm at BallHatman7.
There you go.
Annoyingly enough.
I love the fact that there were 7 people before you.
I know.
Who wanted to be called Bowler Hat. Could you not get Bowler Hat Man?
Yes.
When you get that?
I know. I had to be the 7, unfortunately. So that was frustrating. But yeah.
Okay. Well, that sucks. Sorry.
But no, it makes me easy to remember that.
One of the things about Twitter is I managed to get Labour Social, as in at Labour Social, on TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, Twitch, like literally all of the social media things, except I couldn't get it on Twitter. Yeah. So do you know what? See you later, Twitter. Not gonna miss you because you will give me at Labour Social. Apparently, someone already had it. Not that they were doing anything with it, but you know how it was. Vendetta saying should have gone with the Bowler Hat Man.
Nah.
Oh well. Too late.
Never mind.
All right, Ollie. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight on GEOSCOPE, and thank you very much to everyone who has said really cool things in the chat.
Yes, thank you very much.
I will be back in the morning for Morning Brew at 9:30 to talk about the King's Speech, not the movie, with that fella out of Pride and Prejudice in it. We'll be talking about the terrible, terrible King's Speech in which he promised nothing and which Chris Bryant immediately afterwards said, you could do all that in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And like the room went really quiet. It was really funny. And then the Tory went, no, actually, we've got detail. He goes, no, it's just a thing. It's just, you could do all this with statutory instruments. Just tinkering around the edges. You run out of ideas. And the Tory had nothing to say. Because he knew he was right. Tories are circling the drain and they're on the way out. Unfortunately, it does look like Trump might be on the way back in. Yeah. Any PMQs tomorrow? I don't think there are PMQs tomorrow. I asked Phil and he said no, there aren't any PMQs. I'll give you an update on that situation in the morning. Because I'll check to see if they're doing it. If they are doing it, I will do a commentary, but I don't think they are this week for some reason.
Right.
Or because Rishi Sunak's gone on holiday again. Anyway, right. So, thanks very much for watching. Thanks, Ollie.
Second time. Let's try this again. This is how you end the stream.
And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.